Well, I've made a mistake and I forgot to turn this on, but welcome back to another practice stream. Hopefully, I will be able to get this going. I didn't want to start too late just in case people are expecting me at 3 and then sometimes I don't show up. Maybe they have other things to do, but they want to see the stream. So, hold on. And there we go. Okay, now we're cooking with gas. So today, what are we going to do? Well, if you're joining me right now, and I'm not sure if anyone is already, but I will be asking for questions quite a bit. I will also, I'm going to practice what needs to be practiced. That's the title of today's, is some much needed practice. And that really depends, right, on what you need to practice for you. In the spirit of these being sort of master classes as well as practice sessions, I would encourage you to sit down and think about what you really do need to practice. One way to do that I just did, is to write it down. And I used I used this pencil, but I used my trumpet journal to do that. As you can see, my trumpet journal is quite thick right now, and I left the pages. Let's see how far back it goes. I don't journal every single day, even though I should. This one goes back to let's see, June. Yeah. So and then I actually have even more I just found today that are in the pocket in the back of the journal. But what I did was I found myself with an extra hour this weekend. I know that sounds like, well, I've been very busy. If you haven't already checked it out, we just did our first 2 concerts of the System 5 Brass Quintet. I just posted it on my Facebook. I guess I could probably post it some other places as well, since if you're watching this on Twitch or YouTube, you probably don't even use Facebook anymore. But you should be friends on Facebook with me there, just because all the old people hang out on Facebook, and that is... sometimes those are the people you want to talk to, right? So that's just a generational thing, and a lot of times they're very happy to give you advice or other kinds of things. That's where they dwell. They don't hang out on Twitch. So that's one of the reasons that I'm on Twitch and YouTube, because I wanted to get out to where the people are, so to speak. Anyway, so I took my trumpet journal and I went back and I looked at all the things that I tried to do, right? All the things that worked, all the things that didn't work, all the things that I wanted to do more of. And I usually will write that down. I have a little general notes section in my template for my trumpet journal. And I just wrote down all the answers, right? Pretty good. So some of them are habits that I want to build. So for instance, there's just a life habit of I would like to practice earlier in the day, not for this stream, but just in a general sense. I've been working on my embouchure posture, and so there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into that, and you're welcome to ask questions about it if you'd like. I can show you some of it. There are parts that I'm not allowed to show you because there's a device that's not mine to share that I'm using, and so I can't say much more than that, except that you should definitely follow Tom Hooten on Instagram and any place that he posts any content. It's amazing. He's really an amazing mind for trumpet, as well as such a great player. So maybe when he reveals his secrets, then I will talk more about them. But until then, so, but my embouchure posture is a habit that I want to build, right? The way that that feels, so that I can place it correctly. I need to listen more to good trumpet sounds. I don't listen every single day anymore, and that's really a problem that I need to... it's not hard to do, right? You're on the way to the store. Well, I don't get out much anymore, but just, you know, if I'm cooking a meal, put on a trumpet record, right? Why not? And then I need to rest longer. That one I've been doing. That one's actually pretty easy, especially if you keep the TV on when you practice. You don't have to pay attention to it, but it gives you something to do during your rest that's not mentally taxing, and it's easy to do a little too long, actually. So I've been keeping the TV on again just to make sure that I'm resting enough, and then I sort of, yeah, okay, am I ready to play again? Yeah, I think so. Because that really, really helps. That means that all my attempts are fresh, and I just need to spread it out over the day then. It can't be all in one 2-hour practice session. I need to spread it out. And these sessions are a little bit different, but this is, it's also a video, right? It's also, hopefully, I guess not entertainment exactly, right? But it's supposed to be informative. So the things that I say shouldn't waste your time, and I shouldn't sit here for 15 minutes watching TV in front of the camera, right? So, but so do more as I say, not as I do. Well, also as I do other times, right? And then I need to release my buzzing. I noticed this the other day. This I can share with you a little bit. Well, can I? Sure. I'll just use my mouthpiece. So when I do my buzzing routine, which is on other practice sessions that have been on this channel, I tend to just kind of do different little like poo attack or breath attack scales. But I notice if you see what I'm doing there, I'm releasing my embouchure to release the note, and that's very bad. That's a bad habit that I've gotten into. It's fine to do that. It's fine to do anything that sounds good, but I should really control the release more, and that's actually going to make my playing more efficient, so I'm not putting my embouchure back together over and over every other note. Right? Just release into the air. So it's one of those things that you shouldn't have to think about it, but if you're doing it wrong, then you're going to have to think about it. So a lot of people, I ask this question at every masterclass virtually that I do, and I get different answers. So, you know, the question is, how do you release a note? How do you stop a note? And I get the tongue, you know, which is appropriate sometimes, but usually not that way, right? When you play really fast notes, it's a good way to do it because you're just starting the next note. So there's no reason to, you know, stop one note and then start the next one. They're just too fast for that, right? That's a good time for tongue stops. There's also a good time to tongue stop when you're playing in the extreme high register and you need to sort of just chop up a note or play a line that's tongued. You don't want to lose that compression and then regenerate it, and so you just put it behind the tongue. That's okay, but it's not a good daily practice kind of thing. It's sort of a specialized thing. I've also heard breathe in, right? And that's actually a little bit what I'm doing. I'm not breathing in actually, but I'm just kind of stopping the part of the embouchure that wants to vibrate. I'm taking it out of that pattern. So, but yeah, and breathing in does that too, right? You can't breathe in without really moving your lips unless you breathe through your nose, and that's a different technique. Again, has some dangers that I try to avoid, but I'm learning from it. I'm doing a little bit of that these days. So no shade there thrown. I just don't understand it well enough to be safe about it. So I'm experimenting little by little with some nose breathing kinds of things. But I find it much more efficient to breathe through my mouth all of the time. And I don't really like to set up my embouchure with it's a Reinhardt, I believe, technique. The 6 magic notes, and there's some other versions of it that basically, but I think it's related to keeping your aperture a little bit smaller, which I do like, and so I'm starting to learn from that. If you want to get into those techniques, study with somebody who really understands it. I'm not that person, so I'm not going to, I don't like to share things that I don't yet fully understand. Or if I do, then I do them with that caveat, and I only make sure they're things that don't seem like they could hurt me. So anyway, and then there's also, so we're talking about releases. I'm getting a little off topic. Sorry about that. So tongue stop, breathe in, right? These are both ones that I don't usually. They have their purposes, and they are sometimes things that we just do, but it's not the way I want to try to stop a note, right? I'm trying to think of what else I've heard. Well, at any rate, the way that I like to do it is to release it into the air, which means that I'm in control of the air independent of the vibration, right? Or rather, vice versa, that I'm in control of the vibration and I don't have to stop my air to stop it. I can stop the vibration without stopping my air. And what value does that have? Well, first of all, it's a really nice way to taper a note into nothingness, right? That's something that we're not very good at on brass instruments in general. But it's also just a more efficient way to sort of play note to note, right? So if I go, that's better than if I go, I have to reset every time, right? No, if I can control the taper of the note and then release it into the air without stopping the air, then it releases, but the air continues, and I can keep my support up. So it's a little bit like what we were talking about just now with tongue stopping, except I don't want that harsh cutoff. I want to keep my support going through the silence, and that's one way to do it. So that's what I've been working on. I need to add a bunch of stuff to my routine. And I can't add, it's too much to add all at once. I've got scales. I never finish my practice template, which is like transposing, sight reading, play an excerpt, record something, right? I never get to the recordings, it seems like. I'm recording now, so I sometimes count that. But I haven't done any of my own personal lesson material. I did a little bit of my students' lesson materials today. But I didn't do any sight reading. I didn't do any transposition yet. I haven't played an excerpt. So that's part of what we want to do in general. Now today is some much needed practice. So we're going to do this a little differently today. I'm not going to try to just get all the way through everything, but I am going to try to get back to some of the things on my list. Right, and some new things. The 3-note samba, I'll show you that. I already played some alto and bass trumpet today. I need to play more loud playing. I don't hold up very well in my loud playing anymore, and I just need to practice that to be more efficient, but also stronger. I need to do my color change exercise. I don't do that often enough. I need to play with drones. I did do that earlier. I need to do swell tones, which is what it sounds like. And some cutout placement exercises, which again, maybe we'll do that after we do some other stuff. But I also just need to practice stuff for a recital that's coming up. My dad and I are playing at Ohio University. While I'm reticent to travel during COVID, and I don't think that it's right to do it, let's say. That's not quite the way I want to say it, but it's good enough. I think we should try to stay home and isolated when possible, because that limits the spread of this deadly virus. I also don't want to pass up an opportunity to play with my dad. And that's one of the difficult things about these times. It's like, well, yeah, do you do the safest thing, or do you take the opportunities you have while you have them? And our recital that we're playing is pretty hard, so I want to make sure that if we get an opportunity to do it, I want to do it. And there are ways to be safe, so I don't really recommend traveling in general, but this is my exception. And so I'm also going to travel for my mother's recital, as a matter of fact. So these are things that you know, if it's a life event that you can't postpone and that you can't pass up, then travel safely and be really mindful of your sort of virus COVID hygiene, I would say. But anyway, this is not about that. I think it's worth addressing that, you know, musicians travel a lot, and traveling during this time is really not recommended. And so that doesn't mean you can't be a musician. It just means you shouldn't travel as much as you used to. So while we think it's back to normal, we really need to be a little more careful than that, I think. Those are just my thoughts, though. So let's get into some practicing so that we're not talking about controversial, politicized issues, and get into the real nitty-gritty. So we're going to practice for this recital that I have coming up. And there's two pieces I want to practice today. One is The tut hill, which we've done a little bit in the past, I need to revisit that. I need to get efficient on it. I might play it on the French Besson, so I'm going to try that out. And then the other is Verne Reynolds' Calls and Echoes. I haven't played it in a really long time. And quite frankly, I just don't know it anymore. And so this will be a little bit of like, let's see what we can remember, right? So that's what we're going to start with today. Sorry I talked your ears off for 17 minutes. Wow. A new record, you might say, except that I'm sure that I've done more than that before. So we're also going to keep our timer handy because I want to be a good practicer about this. So yeah, I'm trying to do more short bursts of practice and then longer rests. I will do some of that. It would be great if people, I see there are a couple of you here. It would be great if some of you ask some questions so that I have something to do in between practice. I'll still probably play, but I don't want the intensity to sort of stay high. I need low intensity right now so that I don't hurt myself before my recital, which is actually before this other recital. I have a recital on October 31st, but I believe it is going to be a mostly performance art recital, and that's fine. It'll be really fun and cool, and still lots of trumpet. Okay, so here we go. We're going to practice Verne Reynolds' Calls and Echoes, and I think a good way to start is, I know this piece. I just haven't looked at it in a long time, so I'm just going to go slowly. I'm going to start near tempo, but a little slower, and see what I can remember, and then we'll practice the things that maybe don't go so well. And why not? We'll get a metronome going. So this is supposed to be 88. Oh. To the half note. So that's. So we're just going to go. We're going to go what is that? 176. Yeah. Okay. To the quarter note. And I'm going to back it way off from there. No. It's still too fast. Some of the licks are really long. So, okay, I'm going to go 120. And why am I practicing with a metronome? Well, I want quantifiable data, honestly. I'm going to write this down also. V, R, C, and E at 120. So you can hear me doing some of our patented good practice techniques, and also doing some of not so good practice techniques, right? That was 3 minutes. And, oh, start the timer again. So I'm trying to slow things down, right? That's the 120 tempo instead of out of, what is it? What did I say? 176, right? So I have a long way to go. But a lot of this will speed up really easily, and it's actually harder. What I was just doing there was trying to get my tongue, the tonguing pattern, right? I'm going ta ta ka ta ta ka ta ta ka ta ta ka ta, but for some reason, the minor third, this that felt wrong to me. I could try to switch to other tonguing methods. You know, I could try TKT instead, but I know this piece from a long time ago, and sometimes the memory you have with a piece is really difficult to overcome. You do it that way, and that's the way you do it because it took you so long to learn the first time. And I can guarantee you, this took me a long time to learn the first time. So I don't want to buck the trend too hard in that way, but yeah, it was just giving me a lot of trouble at the slow tempo. Now I know at the fast tempo it'll be easier, and I'll just sort of tongue through it, but if it's hard at a slow tempo, there's probably something going on that I really need to address, and it doesn't matter if I know what it is or not, it just matters that I do it, right? So I want to make that more familiar to me before I try to do it fast. Now this is a duet, if I haven't mentioned that. My dad plays first trumpet on this, usually when we do it, so I'm playing second trumpet. And the composite, go listen to this piece. It's a really nice piece that's just, well, it's calls and echoes, right? So it's back and forth a lot. I believe it was written for Barbara and Charlie, and that is Barbara Butler and Charlie Geyer, who are a married couple that are famous trumpet teachers and performers. And so I believe it was written for them. And actually, I got to hear them play it one time, which was really, really cool. I was working backstage at DePaul, and I was working a Chicago Chamber Musicians program. And this is when they were at Northwestern, I believe. And they just showed up, and we recognized each other. And so I was like, what are you guys doing here? And they said, well, we're playing Calls and Echoes. And I said, oh my gosh. And they said, what do you do here? And I said, I work here. So we were all at work, but yeah, it was really cool to know the piece and to see them perform it live, and also be like backstage, not out in the audience, but like there's an offstage portion of this. And so Charlie came off stage, and like I held the door open for him and looked over his shoulder while he was like playing the offstage stuff. It was really, very, very cool. So that's another thing we have to figure out is what mute we're going to use if we can, and if we can't play off stage. So that's another thing to deal with this piece. But anyway, that was exactly 3 minutes, and I think I'm going to try some more playing. But I'm going to go out of time this time. I'm not going to try to... I'm a little uncomfortable using the metronome because I feel like I need to keep going, and that might not be appropriate all the time. So I'll show you what I mean. That's better, right? Oh, I forgot to turn this off. Sorry. That's right. this part is just hard fingerings, right? This. It's not terribly difficult, right? But it's just awkward enough because you can rock your hand, but you can't. You have to play the G flat this way and then the E flat this way, and in between you've got the F, right? So you have to be careful that you don't rock your hand too much, and you have to have good independence with your second and third fingers. Otherwise, you'll end up playing like trying to play E flat fingering on the G flat, or you won't get the third valve down in time when you come back. So anyway, let's keep going. Oh boy. I haven't been hitting the right button this whole time. Anyway, what is this button? What does it do? I'm not sure. Anyway, this is the mute button that I've been trying to hit this whole time. Well, so much for the live stream, right? But you can hear. So that was 4 minutes, 4.5 actually, with my screw ups. 4. Same. No metronome. So I'm playing the same thing over and over again, right? And I'm also playing it. I'm not doing some of my patented techniques, or really just everybody knows them, right? I'm not singing. I'm not doing the fingering. I'm not doing a wind pattern. And that's because, well, I already sort of know them, right? And it doesn't mean that those things won't be helpful, but it means that the physical act of playing them is so tied in with that's the missing piece for me, right? Is that I've forgotten I haven't forgotten most of the sounds. I've just forgotten like physically how to do it, and so I can work on my fingers by themselves. But like I said before, that tonguing pattern and just the air pattern of the whole thing, and how it locks in, and my tongue placement, that's really the important part of how I'm working here. So that's why once you learn a thing, right, you need to be able to do it consistently. So, and this may be something that I've not said a lot because we sort of take it for granted, but once you learn it, that you're not done, right? Just because you played it once really, really great, really correct. And a lot of my students will say, oh, this went really well in the practice room, and for some reason it's not going well now. Well, yeah, just a little bit of pressure, and all of a sudden your best intentions and all of your concentration just isn't quite enough. So you have to practice something until it doesn't really require very much concentration, at least not in that way, right? You don't have to read the notes anymore. If you have to read the notes, you just haven't really played it enough times. You haven't practiced it, and so then you make mistakes, or you run out of sort of buffer room in your brain, and so you can't read anymore. And you're like, well, why did I miss this accidental? That's like I saw it. Well, yeah, but sometimes you can't concentrate on your trumpet playing and on the music that you want to make and on the notes and on the fingerings and everything, right? So you can only, concentration sort of implies, or rather focus sort of implies one thing, and concentration is what you use to do that, right? So I want to play this, I want to play each of these licks enough times that when I get to it, I go, oh yeah, that lick, and then my fingers just go on autopilot, right? Sometimes we call these push button licks, where it's like, it's as if I pushed a button on the trumpet and that lick just played itself. And that's all that button does, right? Is it just plays that one lick. It takes a lot of concentration and repetition to program all of those buttons. But then when you're actually playing the piece, all you have to do is make sure you kept track of all those buttons, right? So, oh, this is the button that goes like, right? And that comes out. So it takes a little bit of concentration stamina to make sure you press the right button at the right time. But again, that's that's me playing through the piece in order and relying on each button that I've programmed. So, wow, no questions still, unless I'm mistaken. Well, I guess nobody needs to know anything. That's fine. I'll just keep practicing. So, okay, that was about 3.5 minutes. I really should rest a little bit more time, but let's figure out what we want to do next. There's a really sort of a long, difficult lick coming up. So these are just the first 2 pages. We haven't even got off the first 2 pages now. So there we go. That's about 4 minutes. All right. I'm going to keep doing the same thing. So in a minute and a half, we only learned one lick, right? But that's all right, because we really got it down. And you might have noticed, like, I would get it maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times in a row, and then all of a sudden I wouldn't get it, right? Yeah, because that's the concentration part. If I broke concentration, or if I just got some sort of lazy fingers for a second, well, I'm not going to get the lick the same as I got it before. And so I need to practice through that. I don't want it to keep happening, right? So if I do it twice or 3 times and all of those are starting to get worse, well, then I need to stop. I'm probably out of stamina for something. Concentration, fingers, your finger dexterity has the stamina as well. And a lot of times we never approach where that would actually start to matter. But in this piece, it really does for me. There's a lot of cross fingerings. There's a lot of third finger. And I'm really trying to be accurate with my finger-tongue coordination, and so I'm sort of slamming my fingers down a little harder, and that's good for when you're learning something too, because it helps the muscle memory really kind of encode well. So let's see. I don't want to be boring and do everything properly, so to speak. So let's look while we're standing here. I can use some of my time, right, to practice the parts that are not dexterous. This very technical section ends with a really long F on top of the staff, and you basically just play it, and there are little other things, and then you you play this lyrical passage. So I can sing that, right? Da, 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 da. Yeah, we got it. So da, da, just making sure that it's in my ear. Da, 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 dum, dum, dum. Da, dum, da, 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 da. Da, 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 hey, we're getting pretty good at this. So, yeah, that's a good thing to do with your time when you're trying to just rest physically, but you have a little more mental space. Although with me pushing the wrong buttons and everything today, maybe I should take a mental break, right? But this is actually in some ways a good practice stream to watch because I think that I tend to be a little over-focused on my music and trying to answer questions and doing other things when I'm on the stream. And that's not really what a real practice session is like, right? You have some moments of, stupidity, right, where you're just kind of staring at the wall and nothing's happening, and that's okay. You need that. That means you're concentrating too hard on what you're doing. You need to take more mental breaks, and it's hard to do the streams actually for me. I'm exhausted by the time I get done because, well, I'm trying to just go, and in an effort to be both entertaining and, well, like I said, educational is better. Both educational and actually get my work done and not make a fool of myself on the stream. So perhaps I've already done that and that's why nobody's watching the live version, but that's okay. Still, if you are here, please, questions about anything, quite literally. Okay, so let's get back to the nitty gritty here. That was 4 minutes as well. Oops, I didn't write down the last one I did. That was 1.5, and now we've done 4. Okay. That wasn't very good trumpet playing either, right? I really pinched my lips on that last note, so I'm gonna do better. My mother is calling me. Please hold. That was my mother, who usually watches the live stream. So I thought, oh boy, maybe something's wrong with it, besides that no one's watching. And nope, she just wanted to know when I was coming home, which is what all mothers want to know. So if you have a mother, please call her. Tell her when you're coming home. She wants to know. Trust me. All right. Well, that was a nice little break in the middle of our session. So here we go. So we've made it to the end of the first technical section, and we've gotten most of it up to speed one by one, right? Over the long term, we haven't really put things together, except there I did it a little bit at the end because so much of it was similar. But that's the tricky part, is once I've got it under my fingers, now I've got to be able to do it all at once. And don't forget, it's a duet, so I have to do this opposingly with my dad, right? He's playing all of these little rests. That's filled in by the first trumpet part, so it'll eventually sound like like that, right? That's the whole idea. And it's a call and echo, right? It's call and response. I'm the response most of the time, but then we flip-flop, and the second trumpet part becomes the call. And then I guess the echo is the sort of the lyrical section that I was singing earlier. So we might play through that, but it doesn't serve much purpose right now. That's not something that we're worried about, right? I sang it fine. They're all notes that I know I can play. That's in the staff, and I hate these big versions because the pages get floppy. I'll have to find my original for this, but we do want to practice some of the. It's not that we don't want to practice the lyrical parts, right? It's just not the necessary practice right now. I know those parts. I'll have to sort of wait till we do it together to know musically what we want to do, and there are other parts that are much more dire right now. So, all right, that was only 2 minutes. Let's see. We can look at this. So there's a nice, really sort of cadential, it's not a cadence, I guess, but cadenza-like free. Let's call it free part. That's the trumpet parts trading back and forth, these long phrases. And so we'll pretend like this is the rest. And what I get, my intro, my entrance comes right after. It's right on that G. And it's a 5 tuplet, which we've heard before, but that's sort of this section's thing. So I want to really nail that and make sure it sounds like a 5 right? So sort of so I have to decide how I'm going to do. I think just straight ahead, right? Just right in time with the 16th notes that come before it. Let's see. So we're just kind of singing at it, right? I haven't even done the fingerings, and we're gonna need them, right? So we could try that. Yeah, hard to sing, terrible to hear, and but okay, well, it's been almost 4 minutes again. That was like 3.5, but we'll call it 4. And I'm gonna run out of room to write things down, but so I'm not gonna start at the beginning. Again, I'm gonna attack the parts that need the most work, and then I'll tie it together and leave it for later. Oh boy. Yeah. So you can kind of think of it that way. Again, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to mute my mic. Again, I can think of the last one is that there are runs of 8 notes, so they're 30-second notes in this case, but there's 9 notes in my last one, and so I have to, that has to be something different, right? I can't think, it has to fit in the same space probably, or I have to, I just have to play one extra note. But the problem is that the first trumpet part is playing with me, and he has regular rhythms, so I have to sort of find a way to fit it in a single quarter note. So that's what we're trying to do here. Close enough. So you can hear why this is hard, or how this is hard, rather. So that's one I'm going to have to work on. I've never played the right articulation, I just realized, on the 5-lit, because the other ones are most of the time, and I've been tonguing this one, but I'm not allowed to. It's so I got to get that worked out as well. Here's an interesting question now. Now, the B flat is a new high note, right? But every other note is the same, and it's an A flat at the top of all the other ones. So is it A flat in this run? And also, is it worth thinking about? In other words, like, it goes by so fast. Does it matter? I can hear it, so I think it does matter in this case. But if my fingers can't play an A natural there because I've played the lick so many times, I'll try to play the A natural, right? It should be marked because every other one is marked, and it's not marked, so it's an A natural in that case, right? And maybe it's important in terms of, like, I'm ending on a low A, so maybe that's the first A natural that precedes the low A that I'm going to land on. But if this was like the day before the gig, I'd probably play an A flat if it feels better right now. Not because I don't want to do the right thing, but because I do want to play the piece in its play the complete piece as much as possible. And if that little thing is going to make me miss that B flat, well, then that's going to be way worse than it. You know, see what I mean? So you have to think like that when you're in a bind. But when you have the time, like this is a month off, so I have the time to reprogram this in my fingers if I'm getting it wrong. And these things emerge over time. You realize I was playing the wrong rhythm there my whole life for 20 years. You know, yeah, that happens. But then that's the necessary practice, right? So. So that's a little taste of that section. I sort of half got it that time. I went for the A flat, but corrected, and I just kind of got nothing. So I'm going to have to work on that more, but I don't have to do it at you. The next section has more difficult licks in it, but it's a little easier to put together, I think, and a little more physically agility based. So when we do this, we normally do it together on the same stand, and we move the music for one another, or we do it on multiple. You can do this on like 6 music stands if you want. It's a long piece, and then you just move with it. But I find that's a little more difficult to coordinate, and so it's easier for me at least to just, when I'm not playing, I move the music. When he's not playing, he moves the music, and we just have to make sure we have enough. The pages out enough so that we aren't going to get in trouble where we're playing back and forth. Like this one, actually, I really need 3 pages up at the same time. And that's why these big, again, this is another criticism of the big version, is I can't see this page that I need before I can move it. So, but we'll just do our best for now. Like I said, I'll get the small version for me. Okay, that's enough of that for now. I didn't really deal with my timer very well. I just kind of practiced for 11 minutes and talked some and did other things. So you can see this piece is going to be a challenge, and that's the kind of stuff I need to do, right? I said we'd get to some Tut Hill, so we'll do a little bit of that. And mostly here, we're just concerned. We're just trying to say, all right, do I want to play this on a different trumpet than I did the last time? And if so, why? What am I getting out of it, right? So, we also need to practice Concertino Classico, which is a lovely Horowitz piece, but we don't need to do it right now. That piece, I need to get that one I have a original of that's not my original, and so that's a different problem to have. I have so many copies of it, and I can't remember which one I wrote on, so I'll have to go to school and find those. But anyway, so this is my French Besson in B flat right now, because that's what I play the Tut Hill in, the keyed trumpet that I do. I wrote on this turn around and follow through. I said that the other day, and yeah, that's what I need to do. But also some of these things that I said before. And so that's what we're going to try to see if this works. I'm also going to play my New York straight 7. I think that's actually a better mouthpiece for this horn. And the only issue that I have to be careful with is I might not be able to play up to pitch, because it's for whatever reason on these old horns, I already play kind of flat, and they're not short enough for me to play in tune with a piano or anybody else. So I'm going to turn my tuner on and just, banged my lip just now, and just kind of look at it. Yeah, that's at least in tune for now, right? So I am gonna rest a little bit and have some water. Now nobody's viewing that I can tell, but sometimes the thing gets confused. So if you're watching and you have questions, please let me know. Otherwise, you can fast forward through this part. Yeah, you have to be careful. If you bang your lip like that, like I just did, right? You want to just make sure that you're not. You know, if it's bruised, you can play on it. You should just rest, right? That's the best thing you can do when you're injured. Even if it's a minor, very like momentary, like ow, that hurt kind of injury, wait until it's gone, right? But you can massage it a little bit like I'm doing now. Just kind of make sure that the cells or whatever, the blood gets flowing again, and that you don't feel any lasting damage there. If you massage it too much, then you're going to get swelling, which you probably get anyway. But you'll cause the swelling, and then it's not a good time to practice when you're all swollen up. But you can play on slightly bruised chops, though. Sometimes you have to. And the way you do that is you make sure that you set things up the way you always set them up, right? It's going to feel different, so you're going to want to put your lip in the mouthpiece in a different way because it hurts the way that you normally do it. But you got to find that functionality somehow. If you're going to have to finish the gig or whatever it is that you've done, just make sure that you're and be safe, right? One gig is not worth the rest of your career. If you just really press through the pain, you can do real serious lasting damage, like separating muscles and things like that. So just be careful. Normally I don't bang my lip, but this lead pipe is just very slightly longer with this bit than my normal one, and I was looking down at the tuner, which is not how I normally play, right? So it's easy. It happens just like that. And you go, oh, that sort of, that doesn't feel very good. So anyway, I'll do a little bit of this Tut Hill Sonata. That was a 4.5-minute rest. I'll do a little bit of this Tut Hill and see if I like it on this horn. We'll just start at the beginning. Okay, and we'll put the tuner on the stand so I don't do that again. How about? Well, how about over here? That's better. Oh, good. Wrong note in there, but so far so good. I think we have to play it a little longer, and I'll mute. It's all right. I mean, it's okay, but the problem is I don't have any pitch control on the slides because in B flat, this instrument has to be all the way out almost on the third valve to be, the appropriate length for a B flat trumpet. And I don't have a saddle on this first valve, so I can't move it while I play, which I think it's about in the right spot for most of the notes, but we know this about the trumpet. It can't be in just one spot. You need to be able to move it to be able to play in tune. So it also has this weird problem where the middle lower register is really sharp if the rest of it's in tune. And so, yeah, I'll have to think about it more. Let's see if it's any easier on the B flat trumpet and if we can get it to sound the way we want. Yeah, it's a lot easier to play in tune for sure. Maybe it's the mouthpiece that I need to be playing, right? So let's try the 7 on my normal B flat trumpet. Does it bottom out? No, it's okay. I think I could do it on this mouthpiece. I like it a lot at the beginning, but it has a little, it might have just a little too much bite. So this is actually really great because we've discovered a couple of things. First of all, that we probably don't need to use the Besson. I guess we didn't try every combination. I could try the Besson with the straight 8 also, but the 7 actually seems to be working better for me right now. It's probably the back bore that is more appropriate to this kind of music than my normal 24 back bore would be. But now we have some options. So when I practice this piece, what I'm gonna be thinking of is, first of all, obviously, am I getting the sound I want? Am I refamiliarizing myself with the piece? That shouldn't be too hard. It's not really technically all that difficult, but there's an endurance challenge to it. There's not a lot of rest in it, and so I'm going to be thinking about that. If I switched mouthpieces or horns, is that going to help me get through the piece better without sacrificing other things that it's just going to make it harder for me then? For instance, if I play a trumpet that doesn't sound as good but it's easier to play, that seems like okay, well, it's easier to play, so then that's better, right? But if it doesn't sound as good, if it's not the sound I want, then I'm going to struggle to get the sound I want, which is going to make that horn not easier to play, right? Because I'll be struggling against the horn then. So really, you want something that matches the types of things that you have to do in the piece. And ultimately, when a piece is really has a lot of variation, like this has these sort of bombastic, bom bom bom, right? This kind of marcato sound at the beginning, and then it has this beautiful cantabile espressivo section in the middle that, well, it's a lot of contrast, right? And one trumpet isn't necessarily going to help you with both of those things, but so in that case, the trumpet just needs to be capable of both of those things, and then you have to make it do it. So anyway, that's a good place to stop for today. I obviously need some coffee or something, so I'm going to call it quits for now, and come back in maybe an hour or two, not on stream, and just try to get through some of this stuff. A lot of my practice is just going to be TV practice this time. And TV practice is great. You saw me do that on Calls and Echoes, where I memorized the lick, and then I was looking at the camera in this case, but I would watch the TV, and I would just play the lick over and over and over and over and over again, and make sure that the tonguing, make sure it sounds good. You have to pay attention enough to know that it's going well, right? But then I try to follow the plot. I turn the subtitles on. I try to follow the plot of a TV show, and like invest myself in it as if I was just watching it, passively. And I try to get I keep playing the lick, until it's literally mindless to be able to play it, right? And then when I put my mind to it, well, that's when I can play musically. That's when I can, make sure that I can play with other people. But I don't want to think about how to put my fingers down or what the notes are or what the sound of the notes are, right? So anyway, that's what I'm going to do later today. That's very boring to watch. If I could put the TV program on for you, we could watch it together and you could see exactly what I do. But unfortunately, I'm sure I would get copyright infringement and my video would be silenced. So, all right. Well, I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you. I will see you next week on the normal Friday time.